Welcome to another episode of the Sword to Sports podcast. One man's journey to read 52 fantasy books in 52 weeks and create 52 podcasts documenting the experience. I'm your host, Mike Mogues, and it's week 3 of self-published fantasy month, which means I'm back with another author. This time it is the Prince of Positivity best-selling author P.L. Stuart to talk about his incredible book, A Drowned Kingdom. The interview is coming up right after all the boring promotional stuff. You know what's not boring, but it's certainly promotional? It's still Self-Published Fantasy Month, so please check out their website at selfpublishedfantasymonth.com. And you can get all types of cool stuff like a daily writing prompt, written author interviews. I'm the one who's doing the, podcast ones. And some guest posts and some other shit you can go figure out yourself. I already gave you the URL. Check that out. These podcasts are being featured on there. Podcast is also available on all your listening platforms, including Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones that I never remember the name of. The videos are also being put on YouTube, so please like, comment, and subscribe so that I could get enough clout that I could get a free pair of bird dogs. That's my new thing. I'm done trying to get a Blue Chew sponsorship. It's now on to Simply the Shorts. It's what I'm about. If you want details about upcoming episodes, including featured books, what authors are coming on the show, and more, you can follow me at Swords and Sports on Twitter. That's where most of the news is coming from. Instagram is where all the clips are coming from if you want to get just a little sampling of the show. Let's get into these book details. The book is A Drowned Kingdom. The author is P.L. Stuart. The series is the Drowned Kingdom Saga. Book 1 was published on February 2nd, 2021, so this year actually. It is 438 pages. The publisher is Frisian Press, which is more of a author assist publishing house than a traditional publishing house, meaning that this is still a self-published book. What books are in the series? Well, this is book 1, but as we talk about in the interview, there's a plan for 19 more. Yes, 19 more. Paul is nothing but wildly ambitious. Per usual, this podcast contains spoilers. It is a spoilers-laden podcast. So, if you haven't read P.L. Stewart's A Drowned Kingdom yet, consider this your warning. There will be another warning, I think, but whatever, consider this it. Without further ado, the wonderful, and I mean wonderful, P.L. Stewart. I'm talking about the one and only P.L. Stewart, here to talk about his book, A Drowned God, which is book 1 of the Drowned Kingdom Saga. So, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Michael, for having me. I'm jealous about the Stark and Lannister and Targaryen banners, though, man. I want them.
They were like $5 on Amazon, and they are completely wrinkled, so you are welcome to have them. I wanted to open up with a very serious question. You're in federal law enforcement, and I've admitted to committing a ton of crimes on this podcast. Am I good, or is this an elaborate scheme to come get me?
No, well, so different jurisdiction. That is America, and I'm over here in Canada, so hands off, man. Unless you're crossing, got nothing.
Now I know I'm not going across that border. It is definitely an interesting job for a fantasy writer. And I know that you can't talk about everything, but like, what are some wild stories that you have from your federal law enforcement days?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Well, those days are still going on. I
Right.
think, most of my job is dealing with people, talk to people, and you meet some fantastic people, and 99.9% of the people that cross the border are simply law-abiding citizens trying to either go to work or come to visit family or do something of that nature. However, there's an unfortunate small percentage that they're up to different sorts of activities, and those are the activities that I get paid for, really.
It's the 1%. Yeah.
Yeah, so but yeah, there's lots of interesting stories for sure. Not too many I can really talk about, but just privacy issues. But in general, it is it's a job that's really exciting. It's something different every day, and I learned so much. I'm learning every day, and it's fantastic.
All
Don't
right.
want my
Well,
employer to come looking for me now. You're worried about people coming for you. I don't want my employer to come looking for me, giving away the state secrets, right? So
I mean, if you worked on like a public case, though, you could talk a little bit about that, right? Like something's got to make the news. All right. You said in an interview, you said in a couple interviews actually that your book is kind of like a hard boiled egg. Are you trying to tell people your book's disgusting?
I love hard-boiled eggs, man. I'm an egg guy. You don't like eggs? Oh man. Okay.
No, I
Well,
love eggs, but that is like the worst way to make an egg. I was thinking, is he trying to say this is the worst way to make a fantasy book?
Well, I hope not. No, I was just more talking about the fact that it's very layered, and you can eat it. Some people don't like the yellow part inside, right? And it's kind of it's also hard in a hard-boiled egg, and the yellow part's kind of runny, and you know what I mean. So, but you don't have to eat that part. You can eat the white part if you want, and I don't think many people eat the shell. But anyways, the point was being that the book is very layered, and you can just take it one way, or you can devour the whole thing, right? A lot of people take it one way, and they're just there for the battles and the world building and the all that stuff. But some people like to get into the themes, and that's more that yellowy part in the middle. And it's up to you how you want to read my book. Once you buy it, it's yours, right? I wrote it,
That's a
and how
good
you
point.
interpret it, it's all up to you.
Yeah, I don't know about hard boiled egg. I'm still not convinced. You're a
You're
natural
not feeling
words.
it?
You're a natural wordsmith, but I don't even think you could convince me that I like hard boiled eggs.
Okay. I'll keep working. I'll be planting subliminal messages in there about
All
hard-boiled eggs.
right. And one day on this podcast, you're just gonna see me hounding hard boiled eggs. I'm gonna be like, I don't know what happened.
I'll be like, I got to him. I got to him.
Also, I wore a hat because I know that you wear your awesome hat on every podcast
Oh,
appearance.
thank you. Thank
How
you.
you get?
Yeah.
When are you gonna get a clothing brand deal? Because that is a cool symbol.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's on the shirt. It's we got
Oh,
some
you're fully decked out.
yeah, we've got some merch, we got some swag. Eventually it's gonna be for sale. A lot of things because of COVID, we were gonna start a little store, go on a few things, but some things got pushed back, but it's still in the works. I mean, I'll never, I mean, if we're selling like Nike one day, then obviously, I'd probably retire from everything, but
Oh my god, yeah.
can always dream.
Yeah, gotta stay dreaming. One of the things that I found really funny, and I just had this kind of vision in my head, so maybe you could clear this up, is you said that sometimes you choreograph fight scenes with your wife. That seems like a dangerous game to play because your fight scenes are pretty violent.
Well, she takes it easy on me, so I'm
Oh, okay,
okay,
good,
right?
good,
So
good.
yeah, she takes it easy on me, so don't worry about me. I got this. I got this. So yeah, it's just something that was kind of cool because you want to make things accurate, and you know, um, unfortunately, I've been in a few confrontations in my life, and but
Right.
it always helps to have someone there just to run through things to make sure anything's realistic, and everything looks and feels the way it should when you write down on paper. So my wife, she obviously, since I'm the writer, this is the one time I get to actually have a say. Normally, Deb's the boss, but she had to play the bad guy, so I got to play. If you think my main character's a good guy, some people don't. I got to play, Arthur. Yeah, he's not a good guy, I know, but he's the main character. So I got to play him, and she got to play one of the other characters that he got into a little tussle with there. If you read the book, you know all about that. So yeah, it was pretty cool. So she had fun. She laughed. So I'm like,
What
stand
did
here, honey. Don't hold the broomstick this way and swing
I was
that
gonna
way. And
say, what'd you guys use as the weapons, like pool noodles?
yeah. Yeah, I got some. If you look at it in my tweets, I got some steel at home. It's not
Yeah, you
quite
do.
Atlantean steel, but no, we didn't use that though. We used the stuff that won't get anybody cut or go into emergency, especially in the pandemic. We just use broomsticks and stuff like that. So, but it was
Well, if
still
you're
pretty cool.
ever, I guess if you're ever looking to spice it up a little bit, you could start using real weapons.
Yeah. But I draw the line at certain kinky stuff. You know what I mean? Like I have a line in the sand, so so yeah. But anyways, yeah, it was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
well, yeah, no, that sounds like actually a ton of fun and probably a good way to, really get a grasp of what's going on. I think it's smart. Do I know that people call Toronto the Six thanks to Drake, but do
That's
people really
right.
call
That's right.
Toronto the Big
Six.
Smoke?
Yeah, it's got a lot of names. Hogtown, the Six, the Big Smoke. Toronto is, I mean, I was born and raised in Toronto. I don't live there now, but still have lots of family there. And it is essentially the epicenter of the universe, okay? So like that's where everything happens. So yeah, it is, man. You never been to Toronto? Oh, come on, man. You're
No,
missing out. You
I've
gotta come up. I'll show you around. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. It's so cosmopolitan. There's so much arts and culture and entertainment, and yeah, and of course, we have when you come to the music scene, you got so many fantastic Canadian artists that have come out of Canada, and and Toronto is the hub of that. Drake and so many others, right? So yeah, it's Toronto's a great place. Toronto's
I
amazing.
mean, you're definitely selling the city to me, but I don't think people call it the Big Smoke. I think you made that up. Or T Dot.
The T dot, yeah, that's a big, yeah, that's a big one. Those are all. That was Cardinal Official. That was a rapper that
Oh, I know.
really,
I remember
a
hit.
Toronto rapper. I really got
What
that
was
one. Really got that one to prominence. So yeah. But Toronto's got a lot of nicknames because any great city has a lot of nicknames. So and that's why you hear so many about Toronto.
is Drake really the mayor?
Well, he might as well be. You know what I mean? He's pretty well outlasted. His popularity longevity is gonna outlast any mayor that ever goes through Toronto. So, he's the man. Drake is the man. Drake, The Weekend. There's so many great, artists that come out of the area. So yeah.
Yeah, it is actually really cool that just how it's blown up for the music scene. But the epicenter of the world, I don't know. I'm kind of a New Yorker, so look, I'm happy to not have New York City be the epicenter of the world. It sucks.
I love New York.
No,
You know
I
what?
hate
The times
it.
I've been there, it's just so vibrant and so many things going on, and just every little borough is definitely its own major city. Like you go to the Bronx, you go to Manhattan, everything is just, wow, it's incredible. And I haven't been in years, but one day, we'll get back there and and check out. I love Times Square. That's fantastic. It's just the lights and yeah, it's amazing. So.
Paul, you're like the most optimistic person in the world. It's gotten worse since you've last been. Do you? So you live in Canada, and one day you want to live in Barbados. Are you just not a fan of temperate climates? It's got to be one extreme or the other.
I love the hot climates, man. I love Barbados. It's beautiful. It's this tiny little island of about 400,000 people, and it's so laid back. And you go there, and you're just liming, and But I'm looking forward to time when my biggest worry is what time we're gonna eat and when's my next drink coming. That's the lifestyle of Barbados, man. It's really
Yeah.
cool and casual, and that's kind of me. And as I get closer to retirement, I look forward to spending at least half my years there. I love the beach. I love the hot weather. I love the sun and the sand. And yeah, that's my jam, man. That's my jam. That's my jam.
I keep you keep talking about retirement. I've heard you say this on multiple podcasts, but your retirement plan is to write 19 other books. This doesn't sound like retirement at all. That sounds like taking on two full-time jobs.
Well, if you knew how intense my real full time job can be sometimes, Michael, you realize, yeah, it's still retirement, man. I can pump out. I'd like to think at least one book a year, and I'm not saying it isn't difficult, but it's certainly not as taxing as working full time and try to pump out a book a year and working shift work and trying to push out a book a year. So I'm very much looking forward to a time when, I can get up, write a couple hundred words in the morning, chill out, go to the beach, do whatever, come back, maybe write a couple in the afternoon, go out for, nice dinner, some drinks, and then, if I feel like writing later at night, do so. And if not, then shut down. And that's a pretty relaxed pace compared to what I have to do now. which is sometimes getting up after working a night shift, and then trying to hopefully having all the my faculties and be able to like much less put on my pants the right way, much less write a sentence right, and especially a coherent one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that retirement stage. Love my job, but definitely look forward to retirement, even though that retirement means writing books.
Yeah. Well, at least you'll be doing something that like you're passionate about. Not saying you're not passionate about upholding the law. Now, if you weren't such a nice person, I'd say something like, are you worried that in boring, cold, freezing Canada, the only thing to do is write, but in Barbados, you're never going to work because the beach is amazing? But I'm not going to say that. So that's
You never been to Canada right now when actually it's a bit cool today when it's like 40 degrees, in the shade, and like Canada, especially Southern Ontario where I live, has these really hot, humid summers. Man, a lot of people think Canada is some cold, remote place. Like it's not, man. Like I mean, the climate's very similar to New York. You have some pretty crappy winters, but you have some pretty long, hot summers. So, like I said, I think you just got to check it out, and you might change your mind about the T dot.
Yeah, but I said I wasn't going to say that. So I feel obligated to ask this, and this is how I keep posing the question. So I'm sure everybody over at Self-Published Fantasy Month's thrilled with my enthusiasm for these questions. But what does Self-Published Fantasy Month and Self-Published Fantasy mean to you?
Well, self-published fantasy month and self-published fantasy, it's a celebration of the fact that you've had a lot of fantastic self-published fantasy authors on your podcast. You're very immersed in the whole self-published fantasy thing, and there are some top-notch writers and people who write exclusively self-published fantasy, and shining a big bright spotlight, big fat spotlight on them. That's and we appreciate so much that you do that, and that so many other podcasters and bloggers in the community do that. But yeah, it can't be bright enough because when you look at the caliber of some of these people, that I could go on and name names, but the Chris Matars and the Bjorn
Oof,
Larsens and the Holly Tinsleys and the RP
oof.
Lowers and the Eve Kagoshis and the Shane Scotts. I could go on and on, but Angela Board, like you have all these people that are just like top notch, and in some ways like within self-published fantasy they're mega stars, but some people feel that sadly that self-published fantasy and self-published fiction in general takes a back seat to traditionally published work, and you and I both know, man, that's not the truth. So so that's why I love the whole concept of self-published fantasy month.
That is an excellent answer. I think the misconception is, and this is getting deep into it. I almost never talk about this, but like that self-publish is for people who couldn't get a traditionally published deal. And like that's not the case at all. It's a choice for a lot of authors.
Yep. And you know what? I've seen people who've gone through different iterations of it. Of course, they start off traditionally published or self-published. They went the other way. They just and they're so talented. I was thinking my friend Tim Hardy. He's great. He writes Hollow Bones. Like, there's, you can have an agent, and I think you've probably, if you heard some of my podcasts, you can have an agent, and that's fantastic. And agents do great work. And then that agent's got to shop your book to a trad house, and there trad houses are shrinking. There's less and less of them more, and they're more or less they're looking for that sure thing now. If that thing exists, I guess you got to be a famous actor or an ex-president to be sure thing. I don't know, but whatever. Anyways, it's getting harder and harder to get a trad deal. The royalties are shrinking, and I'm not trying to knock the trad industry. I think it's a great endeavor, and if that's your jam, hey, go for it, because there's a lot of pluses. But at the same time, I think people are looking at the self-published industry. They're looking at the higher potential for royalties. They're looking at the creative freedom. They're looking at the shorter publication timelines. They're looking at all these things. They're going, you know what? Bang for the buck. A lot of money up front to get this, get this bad boy out there. This, my beauty, whatever you're writing. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people are seeing the rewards and the benefits of self-published writing.
Plus, then they get to participate in incredible months like this.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't miss this for the world, man. This is definitely worth getting up early for.
Yeah, did you get up early, or was this just the end of your shift or something?
Actually, I was up early this morning. Like I said, I have weird sleep patterns, and because I work shift work, sometimes 7 o'clock in the morning is midnight and vice versa. So, but yeah, I was up for this. I had to get up early, man. I had to be alert and get showered and change, get on my swag and get ready. I was all excited to be on Swords and Sports. This is a big deal, man. So I had to have my game on.
Thanks for those pretty lies. It's part of I feel like this has become the kind of standard for self-published fantasy books is to enter the books into Spiffbo. And you entered in Spiffbo 7. Unfortunately, you got cut, but are you now writing for the blog that cut you?
Well, that's an interesting story. And of course, I'm not writing, I'm not blogging for Spiffbo. That would be conflict. I was a participant in this Spiffbo. So I'm not blogging for Spiffbo 7. However, I am blogging for the incredible Before We Go blog, led by the phenomenal Beth Tabler. She's amazing. And all the blogs in there are just fantastic people. I'd always thought about blogging. Beth had put out a tweet a little while back saying she was looking for potential bloggers, and I'm humbled that she took me on. It's a pretty prestigious blog, and I'm very honored that she selected me to be one of the bloggers, along with other couple phenomenal people. So the team is amazing. I already read so much. To be an author, I think you heard this many times. Being a voracious reader and an avid reader can only make you a better author. And I was already reading and reviewing books for pleasure, reading the book, and we all know that for most authors, especially self-published authors, getting a review is gold. Just any review, right? So I was already doing that. I was buying books that I loved, and doing the courtesy as people have done for me, posting a review. And so now I'm just doing the same thing. I'm just doing it as part of the blog. So there's really not that big a change for me. So, but it's just something I think is really valuable. And bloggers, podcasters, I think they're the unsung heroes of writing community. They do so much to promote authors' work, and so I felt this was a component of my my entrepreneurial writing journey that it was great to take a next step there. So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
See, I can't see based on the 20 minutes I've been talking to you that you'd be a spiteful person, but I am. And did you debate writing blog number 1 why the operator of this blog doesn't understand what good fantasy is?
No, but listen, you have to like, so the self-published fantasy blog off is an incredible competition. The fact that Mark Lawrence put this together, he's a traditionally published star. He didn't have to do anything like this. It's very altruistic. It's very philanthropic actually to do this. Like, you know, um, it's a competition. There's only one winner. There's only 10 finalists out of 300 books. You know, almost everybody's getting cut. Reviewing is very subjective. You've seen reviews. I'm sure you've read reviews from Spiffbo, from past Spiffbos, because this is 7. So where some people are through the moon raving about a certain book, but they just think it's just not something that's suitable to move forward. It's perhaps there's, compared to the other books, that their caliber is just so high that it's just not your time. And I'm grateful for just the opportunity to have a fairly positive review and just to be a part of the whole thing. It's just that was the excitement for me. That's all you can hope for. Of course, everybody's hoping to do well, but again, there's only 10 finalists and only one winner. So and that's not my style, man. As you said, positivity and also the one thing about being, especially now that I'm going to be a blogger, the one thing I love about what a lot of bloggers attempt to do is to highlight the positives of every book, and almost every book has a lot of positives. Whether or not it's your taste doesn't mean that the book isn't good. So and even a quote unquote negative review can help your book find an audience, because I may write something and say, oh, this book was blah 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 blah, and you make, that's exactly what I like, and you run out and get it. So
Yeah, I think the most famous example of that is Josiah Bancroft, who was eliminated in the semis and now has like a 17 book deal. So, I mean, there's something out there. Yeah, you're too positive. Beth, we got to have some words. I'm not pleased by my man getting cut. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I'm willing to be the guard dog for you because you are radiating positivity. I'm willing to be the negative side.
okay.
If you're in the market for someone.
I can hire you out. I can hire
Yeah.
you out to be the
Yeah,
Darth
but
Vader of
it's basically free because I just enjoy it.
I never argue with a man with a knife in their hand.
I mean, this thing is a letter opener. Someone got this for me, and I've been like OCD playing with it and all these interviews like a 5-year-old because I can't sit still. But you said that I wasn't interested in how you name your characters until you said it was a secret. Now I have to know, what's the secret?
Well, it's not so much a huge secret. There's a formula that I don't really disclose. However, and I've said this before, and I will
So
say
it is a
this, that
secret.
oh, okay, it's a secret, but maybe off camera. But anyways, yeah, like the posh, highfalutin, bougie Atalanteans, they have these, longer names, more syllables, Othrin, Glathan, blah blah blah. And well, and then the more what Othrin would consider the barbarians, the unposh, the unsophisticated, they have these shorter names, Welly and Hurt, and it's much more abrupt and simple. So and they're that's essentially how the names are kind of drawn out in the book. There's a bit more to it, but again, it's a secret sauce, man. I'll give away the secret sauce formula, but
once you say
yeah,
something's a
that's
secret,
the
I
essence
gotta
of it.
know it.
I don't have a machine generating names or anything, or I don't
That would
use
be
any of those
sweet.
sites that make up names for you, or this is my own thing. So
Have you thought about? I mean, I got no idea how to do this. Making a computer program of it, and then that could be your side racket. You're the names guy.
but I'm so like technologically limited and so handicapped with, I can barely turn on a computer, much less, you know what I mean? So everything I do, I'm old school, man. I'm an old guy. I'm old school. So like I said, I have this formula how I do it, and it seems to work. So, yeah.
I don't know about that because you've got easily one of the most navigatable websites. I know that was part of like a package that you purchased, but like that thing is on the ball, that website. It saved me
Oh,
a ton of work.
well, thank you, man. Try to keep it sweet and simple. It's really easy when you only have one book right now. So,
That's true.
but there's more coming. So, working on number 2 right now. So it's
Well, when you
hopefully
get
be
to
out same
20,
time as the first one was in spring. So
when you get to 20, it might be a little different. You might have a lot out there.
yeah, that might have to do some expanding, add a couple more tabs on the website for that for sure.
So I recently spoke to your friend Holly Tinsley,
Oh, she
and
is incredible. Incredible. Incredible.
she did not say that about you. No, I'm kidding. She had nothing nice but nice things to say about you. But she also said, I asked her, I'm like, is there anything like that I could ask you? And she's like, oh, you're gonna find something that you're gonna want to ask him. But she didn't tell me what it was. What am I missing? I feel like I'm on the outside of a joke that I'm peering in. So what am I supposed to ask you here?
You know what? I don't know that you're the big podcaster. I guess for most people they want to know, like, why did you write author is such a freaking asshole, right? Like
I didn't know if
that's
you were
pretty
gonna
well.
curse. Oh, let's go.
That's pretty well. Hopefully if you have to edit it out for the kids, I get it, but I don't,
Have you
judging by
listened
what
to
I've
the
seen your
show?
podcast, I don't think
I was
so.
gonna
I think
say.
worse has been said here. So so but yeah, most people want to know, why'd you write them like that? And obviously, I wrote them like that because there's people like that, and it's realistic. B is to shine light on some of the issues in the book, which if you read the book, you get what I'm talking about. And also C, because I figured, you know what, you got to take chances and take risks when you write. I think it's part of the courage and integrity of writers. And I wanted to write something that was memorable, something that, if it's controversial, understood, but also something that, there's a lot of compelling themes in my book: racism, misogyny, religious intolerance, blah blah. And writing a main character, as my good friend Bjorn Larson coined it, that he's a protagonist that's the antagonist of his own story. Yeah, it's that's, I think, is something a bit different that you don't often see in fantasy. And but that's what I did. So
Yeah, it was certainly a bold move. It was fun though that you did it like that. Also, shout out to you for not really wanting to curse and saying frickin' in front of asshole.
I know I could have gone full F word, but I mean, again, I want, just kind of keep it somewhat clean in case, I got I got someone younger watching this. At least they can say P.L. Stewart didn't bring it to that level. He was,
It's
but that's, it's all good.
this
Off
podcast
camera
is for the
again.
kids. It's funny. When I was listening, when I was doing prep for this, I was like, I don't think he curses on the podcast. So I pulled out all my cursing questions. So I have done
You
a
throw
clean
it back
shot.
in there. If you see me watching my favorite football team or baseball team, and there's a blunder or something, you'll hear lots of curses. I'm sitting there and like, I want to throw things at the TV. But yeah, I try to keep it clean as much as I can, but doesn't mean I don't curse, that's for sure. So
Yeah. So when you say football, are you talking about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? Or are you talking about the New York Giants?
Hey, but I love CFL. It's this quirky little league that's been around for a long time. But I love NFL. I'm a big NFL nut, and have been for a long time. And I love watching football. It's my favorite sport. So I get pretty jazzed now that obviously September is coming around, and obviously I got my fantasy team in place too. And so yeah, it's a great time of year, right? It seems the weather gets a bit chilly, and the pigskins getting thrown around. Like, yeah, it's a great time of year. So
I will say, and this will be my last thing because everybody shuts this off as soon as I start talking about sports, but CFL's got better team names. The Argonauts, that's a good name.
yeah, the Argonauts, right? The Blue Bombers, the Rough Riders. We got some hardcore names, man. You got to give it
Those are
up
better
for the
names.
CFL, right?
Also, I like the rules better, but that's another thing. You did write a book and you're here to talk about it. So, as you know, this is a spoilers podcast. It includes many, many warnings, but it does give us the freedom to talk about all the fun stuff that you have written. So, are you ready to get into it?
I'm ready. I'm ready, Michael. Bring it on.
Let's start off with a hot one. Was a small part of authoring happy that Atlantic's sank? People were not nice
Um,
to him there.
no, he actually wasn't happy at all. He was traumatized. But one thing that came out of it that he was happy about is that he had the chance to be the man. He has a chance to be the undisputed leader of the essentially the reincarnation of Atlantics. And he gets to be the big hero, which he loves, as you can tell. And he likes the spotlight. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, even though he has these insecurities and stuff. And it was horrible for him because he felt that he was part of, again, this superior civilization, and it's gone. But at the same time, and as traumatized as he is, and as traumatized as the loss of all his people, it's given him a new opportunity to be the man, and that is something that he relishes. So
I mean, at some small part of me, yeah, 500,000 people died, but fuck you, brother. That's what you get.
well, that's the thing too. The outcome of that rebellion was not what he expected, right? He thought worst case scenario, his brother might divorce his wife, maybe there'd be some slap on the wrist for Othrin, everything would be fine. He wasn't expecting, even though he was a fear, okay, I might lose my head in this, but he always goes into it thinking some way, I'm gonna find a way out. But he's brave, and that's the one thing with him. He is brave. That's one of his positives, and he was willing to put his life on the line for what he believed in. As flawed as it is, so, and he obviously, he didn't have a lot of love for his brother, so that probably made it a little easier. I mean, he loved his brother, but they had this really awful and very problematic dysfunctional relationship. That made it a bit easier for him to take up arms. But yeah, I think, yeah, he did very much feel like his brother got in some ways what his brother deserved, but at the same time he blames his brother for the destruction. He just feels that his brother cursed their society and brought it down. So, and that's something that he's not gonna be able to forget either.
Well, I mean, he can remember it all he wants. His brother is as dead as the day is long, which is not an expression, but there you go. Speaking of his brother, Urthel and Dira humping for 6 nights straight. Like, how do they have the energy?
Hey man, they had those roots back then, like almost like Viagra. Now, like they had those. Nah, hey man, if you're into it, man, 6 nights is nothing, right? Come on, you're a young dude, like, you know what I mean? Like you just got married, like 6 nights. That's, you know what I mean? That's nothing, man. That's nothing.
I guess. Shout out to Blue Chew. Please sponsor this podcast because I am broke. Um,
Especially when you're out there, you're on this trip. There's nothing else to do. You know what I mean? Like it's just, this call there, and there's nothing going on. Just like a bunch of dudes just drinking and stuff, and there's one hot woman there. It's like, what else are you gonna do, right? Like, you know what I mean? And Arthur is like, I didn't want to offer me anything, but it would have been nice, like, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, he was kind of jealous that, because Urtha was the higher ranking prince, that he got the play. So, you know what I mean? So Urtha took advantage, but, he kind of got trapped, but it is what it is, right? Or did he, or did he just kind of go, you know what, this is a choice I'm making? I guess that's an interpretation, and that people may make a decision later on about that. But yeah, like,
dudes will go to any length to get laid, to completely betray all their beliefs, change their religion, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I
gotta get that stuff is secondary, man. Gotta get mine. You gotta get mine. That's what counts, man. You know what I mean? Screw all that shit, right? I'll be the king. What I mean? I'm gonna be the king. I can do what I want, right? You know what I mean? He told Arthur as much. I'll be the king. Like it or leave it, and this is what I'm doing. So there.
Right? I love how Arthur just kept trying to convince himself he was having fun on this trip. He's like, yeah, this is great. I just get to drink with the boys and eat this raw deer. And then the best part is when I looked out at the kingdom and I was like, this tiny ass kingdom, why are we here? It's 30 miles by 15. It's basically a tiny box. This sucks. There's one hot girl in the whole place.
Yeah, and my brother has her, and he's banging
and we all
her,
gotta listen and I'm just
like sitting there trying to, not give away state secrets and drink my face off, and because I'm bored, and I have to actually pay attention to what's going on about who's who and blah blah, and he just gets to bang the hot princess. Like, that's not fair, you know what I mean? So
he's like, I'm having so much fun. I'm not saying we should kill kids. I might have said that before, but I'm not saying it now. But you gotta admit, a necklace of children's finger bones is pretty fire.
Yeah, it is. And the hardest thing about writing fantasy and trying to make it as realistic as possible is you don't want to glorify certain things. You don't want to glorify war, but have battle scenes where people get beheaded and cut open and blah blah. I don't think it's as prevalent as some of my, I read some great fantasy writers that, man, there's bloodletting every few seconds. My book isn't like that, but there are some, pretty intense battle scenes. And, again, a lot of fantasy is reflective of real life. So again, if in their society, if, that's what they do, that's something that I put in there to add to the realism. And yeah, it's, it is what it is, I guess. And, I love children. I certainly don't believe in advocating in violence against children or people in general. And that's all. It's always a fine line you walk with fantasy. Especially you've had a lot of grimdark authors on here, and we're like, oh man, like you put that in there, like wow. And everybody has their line. And but yeah, that was just part of one of the rituals of the Druids, was that they had these finger bones, and it's children that have passed away, but still it's kind of a gruesome element, but
yeah, but it's a good fit. It does look nice. Can't deny it if it looks cool. I think society's one Instagram like away from starting to dig up some children and wear their own necklaces. If that's what's hot, that's what people are doing. I hope it doesn't go there. Also, the Druids, what do they do if they're lefties? They got to cut off a finger on their left hand. That sucks.
Well, in a lot of fraternities, they have some pretty horrible, unfortunately some people have died, but fraternity initiations in college, some of them are pretty crazy too. For example, in modern, you talk about modern times, but yeah, so you would think that in that type of setting that that wouldn't even be so extreme as initiation rites to be a part of the ruling magicians of the society, right? So yeah, it's kind of a messed up ritual. I ain't giving my finger for nobody, but hey, right, if that for them, that was part of getting into the club. So right, there you go.
Well, I guess if everybody's doing it, it doesn't seem as bad. Yeah, but what are with everybody in self-mutilation? We've got everybody branding themselves in Eltnia. Wow, like warriors getting circle brands. We got the lion brand as a rite of passage. What's wrong with like a good tattoo?
Well, the Sanavians, like Norsun, where the Druids were, they tattooed themselves. That you remember.
Yeah, but they cut off their fingers too.
Tattoos, but that's just the Druids, though, right? That's just the Druids. But yeah, the Outlish, their thing was brands, and I that's actually what a lot of people say was one of their favorite scenes, because when Othrin gets his, because he's got this cockamamie crazy ass scheme that he's gonna go in there and pretend that he's Outlish, and he's gonna sneak in and infiltrate Wally's capital, get his kingdom back. But like most times, Othrin isn't always prepared for all the things that come with his crazy schemes, and he takes it. He puts up with it. He takes like a man. But it's one thing he's realizing in all this stuff is that in Eltnia you earn your chops, right? You don't just get there's these blade trials and these combats where like, oh yeah, I'm the heir of the king, but my brother wants a throne, so we're gonna fight to the death for it. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen where he comes from athletics. If I'm the eldest one, I get the throne. I don't gotta do anything other than show up at the coronation. So that's stuff that he's learning about his new reality, is that things are just handed to you. You got to earn them. So that's actually one of my favorite parts of the book. A lot of people, because they love to see Othrin get hurt. They love to see him get his comeuppance, right? They like to see him get pain. They like to see him get punished. So because he's such an asshole. So
what would have happened if they just didn't let him in? It would have been like, I did all this for nothing.
Well, you see at the end of the book that he's dressed up like one. He's got the brand. He's playing the role, right? Now,
yeah, but what if they were like, it's closed today, we're not letting anybody in?
Yeah, it's closed today. Yeah. Fortunately for him, they're looking to see if Welly's come back, if Welly's alive, if he got killed or whatever. They're looking to see if Senti succeeded in this dastardly plan. So they're looking out. So when they show up, it's like, oh, okay. So, and they happen to run into a guy who's on the wrong side. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how he manages to survive, or anybody survives. In book 2, based on what he's done. As I said, he's put himself in the lion's jaws, as he says himself, and he really has. He's really put himself in some deep shit now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, if he does die, that's going to make very interesting 18 remaining books that you plan on writing. Guess you have to find a new main character. Um, one of the goals of this podcast, and this will be probably the only serious question, is to kind of break the traditional mold of what fantasy has stereotypically been viewed as, this kind of male centric, saves the female princess who can't help herself, written kind of by these kind of like crusty old white men for neckbeards in their mom's basement playing video games. That kind of has no diverse set of characters or anything. What about your books breaks these traditional molds and kind of brings fantasy either to the general audience or, just sets upon breaking barriers?
Well, I don't think it's lost on people when they flip over the back cover of the book that they have a black man, a racialized man writing about a white, bigoted, homophobic, religious prince who's tolerant to other religions and stuff. And I think most people get that. My book again is to shine a light on those issues. I think with things that have happened in the world today, a lot of movements like Me Too, Black Lives Matter, they didn't come out of nowhere. Okay.
Right.
Mankind has grappled with racism, misogyny, bigotry, homophobia, religious intolerance for centuries. Humankind, and we haven't quite figured out yet how to solve that stuff. And one thing I thought would be fascinating is to, where do these ideas and values come from? What do the people who hold and espouse these views, what did they think, or how do they see themselves? And how could someone like that change? What would it take for them to change? Like how much? What kind of things would have to happen to them? What kind of exposures would have to happen? What kind of person would they have to be to actually, make a real change inside, right? And I guess part and parcel of that be then, okay, if you can change enough people, would that prompt a systemic change, and how would that happen? So that's a lot about what my book does. I think that is somewhat groundbreaking for fantasy. I don't think you're going to read too many books like mine that kind of, authoring's views are extremely, people say, oh no, like, I hate the guy, he's an asshole, he's terrible. And then people realize, all of us, that we work with people like that. In some cases, we have people like that in our own families. We've certainly met people like that. And some of these people we've had to deal with on a certain level, whether in work, employment, our own, as I said, in our own families. We've had to essentially get along with these people and work with them on levels that, and coexist with them on levels that, we may not prefer to. But so is that all we do? We just coexist with these people? Do we stand up to them when they spout these views? How do we change them? Can they be changed? Is it worth changing? Do we just write them off as evil people? What do we do? So that's what a lot of my book is about. And I don't have the answers, Michael, to all these questions. I'm more or less, as an author, I get to put that out there, and I get the reader. It's up to the reader to figure out, can we, can't we? Is authoring worth saving? Can he be saved? Will he be saved? Will he save himself? What's it all about, and what does that say about our society and what we're about?
That was probably one of the best answers to that question I've ever gotten. I'm gonna be honest, you were like lulling me into, like, I was like rah rah, I was ready to go with you until you said you didn't have the answer, and I was like, oh shit. I fully expected the answer to come, but no, I totally get it, and it is true. I wonder how many people go into reading the book without I mean, I read them virtually, so I kind of knew who you were, and then flip it over and go, wow, that's different. Like, just because authoring, he's a fucking dick. And like he's viewed, I don't know. I think it's certainly unique, and it is. I think it probably gives the most realistic perspective. So I think I appreciate that a lot, and it was certainly something unique and fun about the book. Normally, I follow that question up with my most unserious question. This is the number one podcast for making dick jokes in fantasy books, and you've got a couple. Can I read it? Can I read the ones that I found in book one?
Absolutely, go nuts.
All right. So Frankly, I was more concerned with how he used his real sword than where he stuck his proverbial one. Just good. Thus, I promised silently I would sheathe my other sword in her scabbard later. After we landed and had time to bathe. This one's my favorite, and I don't really think it's a dick joke, but it did make me laugh. The scabbard of his priceless broadsword, Longstroke, dragged slightly in the sand as he limped forward.
Yeah, that one wasn't intentional, but yeah, I guess you could, draw some parallels there. But
his hand was on Longstroke's hilt in Uncle's typical martial posture.
Yeah. And I guess I should put a little clarification that was not written to say that old yellow was jerking off. That was all those times he's actually walking up the beach with his sword at his side on his sword belt. But so Othrin is a typical male pig, and that's how he sees the world, man. So and he uses those analogies of his sword and all this stuff. Like, he's pretty typical in his views in terms of how he thinks of women. And women are in his view are to be subservient and to be wives and bear kids. Hopefully they can survive bearing kids, and they're men who rule the world. And the one passage that I remember, one of my female family members is like, he's such an asshole, when he was like, they are landing in Elton, and he's thinking about, I gotta really fix this society because they have women goddesses and men rule the world, and that's just fucked up. And the fact that they have women goddesses, that's what's fucked up about them. That's why they need me. They need me to fix. They need me to straighten this shit out. Like that's Othrin, right? So, that is, and there's people out there in the world that think like that. And again, that's how we kind of got to some of the messes that we have.
I agree. Shout out to Longstroke, my favorite name for a sword yet.
Longstroke, yeah.
You touched on it in that last answer, but how quick after seeing Lissa do some magic would you convert to the 6 elemental goddesses? I would be like, yeah, screw this. Is the only people that have any magic. I'm in.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, Othrin is very attracted to Lysy, right? But he's also repulsed because, she represents, again, in his world, women are not supposed to be warriors, they're not supposed to wear swords. They're certainly not supposed to have magical powers, which again is heresy and heretic and blasphemy and all those things for Othrin. And probably most importantly, they're certainly not to give you sauce and talk back and give you back what you give out the way Lysy does. And she just gives it to him. She doesn't care. Like, he pushes an argument forward and she pushes her right back. And, so I think that's the attraction. And I think, obviously, I can see how someone like Othrin, would be kind of like, this beautiful woman, and she's smart and she's compelling and she's so different. Like, yeah, she's kind of getting to me. And she is the reason why he has some little inkling of change in his thought process. I think I'd hold off a bit longer. That's just me. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I've never been in this situation, but, like, I'm happily married and, I plan to stay that way. But, yeah, like he is tempted, and she does challenge his beliefs and challenge his ways of thinking, and that's hard for someone who's such a religious zealot, right? So
yeah, but his God only provides him a angel that claims to have cucked his dad. The 6 elemental goddesses could, make earthquakes and, nosebleeds and can tell the future and stuff. I think I'd go with them instead of the angel screwing my mom.
Yeah, like, and as Lysy tells him, hey man, like, I got 6 goddesses, you got 1 god. Like, are you stupid? Like, what the
That's
fuck? Like, would you rather have 6 warriors to help defend you or one? Like, come on, think about
right.
it. But, Alden's like, but, she kind of puts him in the logic box a lot. And she traps him in
Right.
the logic box and he's trying to get out, like, oh no, but, and you see his head going like that. That's what she does to him. So.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, what's not the selling point? Like, I can do magic, or you could get your mom screwed by an angel. Like, it seems pretty obvious the choice to me. I'd be like, screw the single god.
Yeah.
Speaking of the single god, I love his title. He's got life, love, and light. It reminds me of Live, Laugh, Love, which is in every college girl's
Yeah.
dorm room. So is that really what is that really who wrote their philosophy?
Well, it's so much about in Authen's religion that God is all powerful, all seeing, all loving. He the single God gives everything life, and that when you've accepted the single God's grace, you're brought into the light. You're enlightened. You understand things, right? So an author in the way he thinks, of course, is that all of that is all the fact that the Atlanteans are the best. They're the chosen people, and of course the angel, he's the chosen one. So and he has to bring that to everybody else, of course, with him still being the leader and the supreme being, so that so that's his game. So.
All right, I think I'm gonna end it on this because I think this question's genius. What happens if the ready is ever unprepared? Do they have to change his name to the unready?
Well, the Ready is someone who Authorin hates and he worries about, because the Ready is pretty capable, and the Ready is the one that Authorin's worried if anybody's gonna kind of steal my thunder, it's gonna be him. So, but that's what the Ready is all about. He's ready to take over. He's ready to do whatever, right? And that's something that Authorin respects, but he doesn't like. So, you can expect that at some point, the Ready's going to do something, because he doesn't just want to be ready all the time. He wants to actually be. So,
That's a good
well, I
point.
guess we'll see what happens. You got to keep reading
I
the
think
series.
all he's got to do is call him the not ready, and then all of a sudden, all his power's gone. That's the type of journalism you get on this show. I think that's everything I've got. I really appreciate you taking the time out. Please tell everybody where they can find you, because goddamn, you are all over the place.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm usually on the best place probably on Twitter. You know that at PL Stuart Writes. DMs are open. You need to talk about something, I'm here.
Ooh.
I'm very, embrace the writing community, and anyone that wants to talk about fantasy or books, or you need something, you need help with something, I'm here for you, man. That's probably the best way. My website, www.plstuart.com. That's where you can catch up about, what's going on with the series, next book coming out, things like that. So, that's where I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, but really Twitter, as you know, the Twitter is where I am for the most part. So you need to talk to me, just send me a message, man.
If you want more of him, he's got an excellent section on his website of all his media appearances, which for someone who spends a lot of time looking up people's media appearances, I was very, very pleased with this.
Oh, thank you. And of course, this podcast will be on there as soon as it comes. I can get it up there. So
this part of Self-Published Fantasy Month. Paul, thank you so much for taking the time out. Go buy the goddamn book, because I want him to be able to write 19 more, which is going to require at some point for him to retire. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Michael. I'm so honored for having me. Thank you. Take care. All the best.
If you ever need a pep talk, you just need to talk to Paul for about 5 minutes. And he had me thinking that I could write 19 books in a week. The guy, he just radiates positivity. Such a lovely individual to talk to. I wish him nothing but the greatest success. There's other books on the horizon. There's 2 more weeks of Self-Published Fantasy Month, which means I got 2 more self-published authors coming on. And I am beyond excited to bring them to you. Next week is going to be Dreams of the Dying by Nicholas Lietziau. And I promise by next week, I will know how to pronounce his name. Then, coming up is Cold from the North by D.W. Ross. And then we're starting off back with not self-published fantasy month with The Kingdom of Liars by superstar Nick Martell. Keep on reading or something. Peace.